Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Glory Glory My Night podcast. I'm your host, as always, Kyle Quinn. And joining me today is Nigel. Back on the show again, Nigel. How's it going?
It's going well, Kyle. Thank you.
And it's going well for Manchester United at the moment. 3 wins on the bounce in the Premier League. So we're going to talk about United's win over Forest, and then we're going to have a wee bit of a preview of the game in Seville on Thursday night, which is only 2 days away now. So United won pretty comfortably at the City Ground, dominating really from start to finish. Ericsson and Fernandez were superb, as was Anthony on the day, and lovely assist by Anthony. Lovely to see Anthony score a tap in, instead of one of his usual goals where he cuts in and curls it in the far corner. And then a beautiful assist for Dallo, on a likely goal score, his first Premier League goal on his 100th appearance for Manchester United. So, what was your thoughts on the game there, Nigel?
I enjoyed it thoroughly, I have to say. The fact that they didn't concede a goal for the third game in a row is very important, even though there was a makeshift defence. But there were some guys who stepped up completely. I mean, Ericsson, for example, Kyle showed his class by getting a tap on the shoulder from Darren Fletcher just at the end of the warm up, saying, Sabitzer's pulling out, you're going to step in. And boy, did he step in. I thought he was superb from minute one until he was substituted. But Casemiro was very, very good. Did what he did, what he's been doing for Madrid, playing the ball to the classier players in midfield because he was told to do that, and he played that role superbly well. And of course, Anthony has improved in recent weeks. Lots of us on podcasts have criticised him being suggestions that he was a one-trick pony. He now is obviously been coached to try to go down the right and pull the ball back and to get in. Maybe the ball comes off the post or off the keeper. He scored his goal after Martial's shot. So a lot of improvement in different areas. But the fact remains that it was a top four team playing a team in the bottom three. And boy, it looked like that. I mean, we were away from home. They didn't have a shot on target. De Gea could have held on to the post and had a cigarette all afternoon. It was that sort of day. But you have to win the game with the team that's put in front of you. And they did it very well.
They did do a lot of crying though about Maguire's accidental handball. For me, that's not a penalty. He goes to head the ball and it accidentally hits his arm. And for me, Scott McKenna was tugging Martial's shirt anyway. So I think Steve Cooper needs to get realistic. His team was comprehensively outplayed, and to be crying about that decision is just utterly ridiculous in my view. Yeah, so we had our first choice midfield on the day, and from the start of the season, Casemiro, Ericsson, and Fernandez, because the bits are pulled up in the warm up, as you say, and Bruno and Ericsson were just out of this world. Bruno really should have capped off a performance like that with a goal. He's very, very unlucky not to score, wasn't he?
He was. He did everything. He was superb. Absolutely, his best game of the season for me. We'll talk about ratings later on, but it'll be very, very high. He was outstanding today.
I suppose we also have to take into account that Forest are very, very poor, and they're down there near the bottom of the table. We've done a good job of beating the teams, I believe, from 15th down. We beat them all away from home, I think. So if only we could do that with the top sides who have struggled against away from home. And maybe that'll come in time as we strengthen the squad. So would you say that is Anthony's best performance in United shirt to date?
Yes, he really was much, much better. His all round game was better. I mean, he's getting close. He's tracking back. He's reading people going outside right and people going inside, and it worked very well. I mean, it was Wan-Bissaka. People say he plays better with Dallo, but I thought he combined well with Wan-Bissaka too, who, to be fair, is getting better and has performed better than most of us anticipated.
Yeah, Ten Hag is getting a real tune out of Wan-Bissaka. I do not want to see him get sold. I suppose there's now you can now make the argument that we could keep Wan-Bissaka and Dallo, with Dallo being versatile and able to play left back in certain games. You can make that call to keep him, especially with the amount of injuries we always seem to get at the back, and currently as well, it's happening again. And maybe we could bring in someone like that the manager knows, like Jerry and Timber, who can play right back and centre back. So by just bringing in one player, you're bringing in cover for two positions. And obviously Dallo can cover left back. And you'd have Wan Bissaka Timber and Dallo at right back. So yeah, if he went for Timber instead of the Bayer Leverkusen player Frimpong, then he would be able to cover a couple of positions. And you know, obviously, definitely don't want to see Wan Bissaka leave because I think he's improved his ability in the opposition's half of the pitch, and as a defender, he's 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 arguably the best defensive fullback in the Premier League. And Dallo, I'm a little bit seduced now with him scoring goals. So even though we've had issues with him, with his defensiveness in recent months and weeks, um, but yeah, there could be an argument there maybe to keep both of them and bring in Timber. What do you think, Nigel?
Well, I just don't rate Dallow's positional sense. I quite often say to you and friends that if you were number two or number three, you have to be a basically good, sound defensive player. Delighted you scored a goal, and what a great goal combination with Anthony. But we were playing Nottingham Forest, who are 18th in the division. When we're playing a top team, Dallow will be found out. I will have no qualms about letting him go and bringing somebody new in.
Yeah, that is a possibility as well. If we're going to bring in a really, really offensive right back like Frimpong, who's essentially a right wing back, you'd have to let Dallo go because you couldn't have two players who are both offensively minded. You need to have a defensive fullback for certain situations, like the League Cup final where St Maximin was troubling Dallo so much. We need to bring on Wan-Bissaka to deal with him. If you just have two attacking right backs and you don't have that option, so I think keeping Wan-Bissaka is an absolute must, no matter what the manager does in that position. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, I agree with that. Yeah, it's about basic soundness. I mean, when you're substituted at half time because you've been so bad defensively, that shows you the inherent weakness there. So if we're going to challenge to with the top two next season, we need to get that right. And the balance and what you suggest is quite right with a new guy coming in and keeping Wan-Bissaka as the defensive right back. But boy, is he improving. We never thought that he would be as good and as controlled on the ball as he is pushing forward. But he certainly Ten Hag's got a great turn out of him.
Yeah, absolutely has. He's reached a level I didn't think that he was capable of, to be honest. So Anthony Martial started this game. I think he played a bit longer than the manager wanted to play him because we hadn't put the game to bed yet. But in the end, he just had to bring him off and bring on Vikers because he's not taking any risks with Martial's history of muscular injuries. But Martial is just absolutely different quality to Vikers. Whenever he's on form and the manager believes in him and he's available, then you will see the best of him. He was heavily involved in the first goal, obviously, and was involved in other attacks. He should have scored a header from across from Casemiro, but apart from that, I thought he was very good. What do you think?
Yeah, I thought I mean, he has a contract to play for. He knows that he's coming to the end at Old Trafford, and if he wants to sell himself to some club in Italy or Spain, he needs to step up, and he is stepping up. But surely he can play more than 70 minutes. He is a risky player to have in your books, but he's playing better than I expected at the moment. And he did have a lash with his left foot, which he pushed out to Anthony for the goal. So at least he didn't cut back in again as he has in the past and try to bury it in the far corner.
Yeah, and he got like a superb assist for Sabitzer the other night against Sevilla. So I scored against Everton. So he's doing well at the moment. But who knows how long he's going to be available? We wouldn't be surprised if he pulls up in a warm up. It's just that's the reason why I think Ten Hag will move him on no matter what he does between now and the end of the season. He could score a hat trick in the FA Cup final and he'll still be moved on in the summer, I think, because you know availability is what's most important, and he's missed about 2/3 of the season really. Um, so I
Yeah,
think
well,
he'll
he,
go
he
ahead.
isn't your out and out centre forward, Kyle. You see, he wears number 9, but he likes to hide out on the left hand side. And the header that you referred to, that's bread and butter for centre forward. We need a centre forward that's going to get us 20 goals. You're never going to get anywhere near that as Martial gets older. He's just not physically up to it.
Um, yeah, yeah, he's like he's 27 and he's getting the injuries of a 37-year-old. It's really troubling. So I think no matter what he does now, he'll have to be moved on because he's just not he can't be relied upon to be available when we need him. So Jadon Sancho did not quite have the impact of Anthony on the day. Was probably a 6 out of 10 at best. Really, he did a he don't in recent games he has some bright moments and he has some really poor moments that leave you scratching your head. So he hasn't. People really want to see him do well, but he's not doing it at the moment. The progression is very slow, isn't it?
Yeah, well, he's had his health issues as well as his physical injuries, but people refer to Jadon Sancho as a winger. Kyle, that's not a winger, the guy I see there. He's lost his confidence. He will play wee 1-2s and knock it back to the fullback. But when was the last time you see him really get at somebody and get round the back of him? I don't know whether we'll ever see that again. It's as you say, he's getting plenty of chances, but he's not taking the opportunities at the moment.
Well, he's playing on the left because of Garnacho and Rashford being unavailable. I think the manager has talked up the idea of Sancho playing at number 10. Um, I think, but I mean, in that position we're stacked, so he'd have to rely on injuries to play in that position. I mean, he's becoming a 73 million pound squad player, and that's a lot of money for a guy who's a squad player, isn't it?
Oh, it is indeed. It's an awful investment, and the potential. I mean, he's had quite a few games now, and it's just not working out. I don't know the background to his mental health issues, but something's not right. I wish him well, but we just can't carry passengers. This is the Premier League.
Yeah, and we've been told by journalists that the manager's run out of patience with him. So we'll wait and see how that one develops. But hopefully he can get back to his best and start scoring goals for United because that's what we want to see. Um, yeah. So the Maguire and Lindelof, I think we're going to see a lot more of this between now and the end of the season. Now, Maguire, after a very shaky first 20 minutes, he did okay, but let's face it, he wasn't under that much pressure as we were dominating possession. Lindelof probably had a better game than him. He actually did well in physical duels, Lindelof, which is not something you associate with him. But as well as they both did at Forest, they're going to come up against a lot tougher tests in even in the next couple of games. Brighton at Wembley and away in Seville. It can be they might not be the greatest team in the world, Sevilla, but it'll be a hostile atmosphere. Seville will be up for it. It's their competition, so I'm not convinced that Maguire and Lindelof aren't going to let us down between now and the end of the season based on a performance against Nottingham Forest. There's a lot tougher tests ahead, isn't there?
Yeah, well, we've seen that back pairing as often as we've seen McFred in midfield, and it's the same difficulty with both partnerships. They're not up to the level. Once Lindelof plays a striker who starts to put pressure on him and bully him, he doesn't look the same player. Looked fine against Nottingham Forest because there was no. It was an easy afternoon for him. Really, they had no shots on target. But when you step up the level, those two guys just can't take it. And Maguire got better as the game went on, but he was under no pressure. But we were still worried that he might do something silly, get a second yellow, and leave his teammates with 10 men, and that's not what you want at the top level in this game.
No, definitely not. You don't want to see our starting centre back getting booked after 1 minute and 45 seconds or whatever it was. That was really worrying whenever that happened. But he managed to see out the game. Um, yeah, I just have to come back to Ericsson and Fernandez, who were phenomenal on the day. We've talked a lot about Bruno, but Ericsson, what a performance for a guy who's been out for months. He's only made two sub appearances since he came back, and he's forced to play 79 minutes because of Sabitzer's injury in the warm up. But what a performance it was! He's just he reminds me of Luka Modric. He's absolute quality, isn't he?
He's a sheer class on both sides, right foot and left foot. The way he knocks it, he sees the pass very early. But Kyle, the great thing about Ericsson is that he plays the ball forward of, say, the right fullback or the left fullback. If you look at somebody like Maguire, when he'll pass it behind him, they'll have to go back and control it and start from there. Ericsson can start an attacking movement in one pass. He's that good. He really is top class.
Yeah, what we've been used to in recent seasons is the likes of Maguire, Lindelof, Fred, McTominay playing it safe, passing it sideways and backways. But what we see now from the likes of Licha, Casemiro, Ericsson is they're always looking to pass it forward. And that obviously is going to lead to us creating more chances. So that's been the biggest difference between this season under Ten Hag and previous seasons under Solskjaer and Ranić, isn't it?
Oh, it is without a doubt. But we're not getting the results, i.e., goals from the front three. When you consider the quality of the balls that are going through here, we're getting chance after chance after chance, and we're not taking them. We should be murdering some of these teams, and the goal difference speaks for itself. We've got +9 now against +50 or whatever it is from the top two. It's a joke. But if we got that right, if you always say get a top class centre forward in, and you'll see the goals going in there if the quality's coming into that position.
Yeah, it's another one of those games that we should have won 5 or 6. We've seen Manchester City absolutely battering teams in recent weeks. We've seen Liverpool beat Leeds 6-1. We're
Mm.
not capable of scoring 6 goals in a game currently. This is why we need to sign a potent striker in the summer. It's probably our number one priority. Although they're probably a centre back now is probably something we need to look at, uh, and obviously midfield and right back. But
Mm.
um, we need to that centre forward signing is huge, and we have to get that right. He will help us obviously score more goals. Because we cannot be relying on a makeshift left back on one of our wingers to beat Nottingham Forest. We should have. I mean, if Holland was playing against Forest, we'd have a hat trick, wouldn't he? Although I think,
Yeah.
strangely enough, City actually drew at the City ground. But in most games against opponents like that, Holland will get 3 or 4, won't they?
Oh yeah, he's top class, and he's got all the movement, and he's young, and he's ambitious, and you can see when he plays and when he scores how he celebrates. That guy's up for playing for Manchester City. We want somebody signing for us that's up for playing for Manchester United.
So we've talked a lot about the likes of Keane and Victor Osimhen and Ferguson, but another striker who's got himself noticed in recent weeks is Ollie Watkins. He's been in some form for Aston Villa. It just seems to be scoring 1 or 2 in every game now. Villa themselves are now going to be challenging for the top 4. That's how well they're doing under Unai Emery. So Ali Watkins, I've been looking at his record and for Aston Villa, and it's been pretty decent this season. It looks like it's going to be his best goal scoring season to date. But uh, he always gets into double figures for a pretty mediocre team, and this season it could be 20. He's 27 now. Would you potentially look at him if maybe we're priced out of deals for Keane and Osimhen?
Yeah, see, well, as you say, he's a consistent goal scorer in the Premier League, but he seems to stay fit, which is crucial. And the new manager's come in. What a start he's had! Is it a case of him like what Ten Hag has done at United? Put his arm round Ollie Watkins and said, "I've looked at a few videos. I've seen your record in the Premier League. Uh, let's try this, and this." And the guy's full of confidence. Looks as if he'd score every time he gets a touch. So certainly he should come in the frame on the basis of what was seen since Christmas.
United fans will remember the last time we signed a striker from Aston Villa, and that was Dwight York, and we went
Mm.
on to win the treble then that season. And
Yeah.
not that I'm expecting that next season,
Mm.
but I remember at the time, I think United were linked with was it Gabriel Batistuta,
Mm.
the Argentine that was a world class striker, um, but when it ended up just being Dwight York from Aston Villa, some United fans were quite critical of that signing and were not enthusiastic about it. But they were very wrong because in that 98-99 season, I think Dwight York got 29 goals and his partner Andy Cole got 24. And as I say, they went on to win the treble, which Liverpool have to date have not managed to do.
Yeah. What a partnership that was. But they liked playing with each other. It was a great combination. It reminded me of old partners years ago. It's very, very important that they strike up a friendship and move forward on that. I mean, Teddy Sheringham, Cole didn't get on, but they were still professional enough to play together and score goals together. And we want that sort of commitment from. They're getting paid a lot of money. You do pay a lot of money for a striker because they get the goals, and goals win games. So it would be lovely to see that type of player come to Old Trafford. Yeah.
Yeah, that's exactly what we're lacking because Martial is just he's never fit, and Weghorst is just not United quality. Unfortunately, I really like the guy. I love him when he chases down the goalkeeper. He presses. You know, relentlessly. He presses. But he's on the ball. He's just not good enough, and just and his finishing is just it's not top level. I understand that the Besiktas want to take him back on loan because he did well in Turkey for them in the half season on loan from Burnley, but I think that's where he'll probably end up back
Yeah.
in the Turkish league with Besiktas.
Yeah, the other thing about him is, do you notice that when he's these people that are tussling with him and he's physical and they roll over for nothing, he has a stare. He stares at them as if I never touched you, mate. He doesn't put up with any of that nonsense. He'll see it,
Yeah,
see it again this week at some stage.
the Sevilla right back
Yeah,
springs to mind. He was just an absolute cheat, let's be honest. And
yeah,
we'll probably see a lot more of that, as you say, on
mm,
Thursday night, which is unfortunate. They will try absolutely anything. They know that on paper, United are a much better team than them, and United have more quality. So they will try the dark arts to try and beat us. And they're very, very experienced at doing so. So we'll get on to that match in a wee second. So I'm just going to do the okay, I'll come to you actually for your player ratings then. So David De Gea, who had nothing to do,
no, give him a 6.
Diogo Dallo,
I give him a 7. The goal was excellent, absolutely first class.
Wan Bissaka,
I thought he was slightly better. Give him an 8.
Harry Maguire,
4, lucky to get it.
Victor Lindelof,
I give him a 6.
okay, Jadon Sancho,
I give him a 4. Not contributing at all. No.
Bruno Fernandes,
Would you believe it? 9.5. If they were playing a better team in Nottingham Forest, if he's played a better game this season, all round game, I haven't seen it. He was superb.
yeah, he's coming into form at just the right time. Casemiro,
I give him an 8. Very sound game.
Christian Eriksen,
Give him an 8 as well for 79 minutes. What a start after being out, as you say, due to injury.
Anthony Dos Santos, as a manager would say,
I give him an 8 as well, and he's getting higher every week from what he's producing now.
Anthony Martial.
I'll give him a 7.
Fred only played about 11 minutes of normal time, and Weghorst come on after 72 minutes. So Weghorst,
A 6. 6. He
yeah.
does his usual run the back.
The manager,
I'll give him a 7.
yeah, yeah, he did everything right on the day, and isn't it great to call upon such quality? When you get yet another injury in the warm up, we now have an entire 11 of injuries.
Mm,
And Sabitzer pulling up with 15 minutes to kick off. It was the last thing we needed, but we just so happened that Ericsson is just back from injury and able to. You could almost argue that Ericsson is a step up in quality from Sabitzer, so it didn't really hurt us. That
no.
being said, Bruno is not available for Thursday night, and so now we'll be hoping for that Sabitzer's injury is not serious and he can make this game because he'll have to slot in there and replace Bruno in this match. If not, then we're going to be looking at Fred starting the game, which is not ideal. So hopefully Sabitzer's going to be fit and available for this one. I'm just trying to think of who's injured and who's suspended. So Bruno's suspended for Sevilla. I think Maguire suspended for the cup semi-final.
Yeah, he doesn't play on Sunday. Yeah,
So in terms of the Sevilla game, obviously goalkeeper doesn't change. I would say I would pick Wan Bissaka, no choice, only Maguire and Lindelof. Um, and then Dallo would probably have to continue at left back unless Shaw is available, because obviously he comes in if he makes this game. Midfield would be Casemiro, Ericsson, and Sabitzer. Sabitzer makes it.
Yeah,
And then there's probably Anthony, Martial, and Sancho if Rashford doesn't make it. Now, obviously, if Rashford and Shaw make it, then they play.
definitely. Yeah, yeah, definitely.
And that would really help us. And Sabitzer obviously as well. If if Sabitzer, Rashford, and Shaw none of them available, then it's and obviously Bruno's out. It's going to make it an even harder task. Now Sevilla won 2-0 at the weekend as well against away from home against Valencia, so they
Mm.
seem to have come into uh, better form than what they were in before. They're now up to 12th in the table. Would you believe? Um, but if we go there and we play our best, we will win and we'll go through. But we cannot allow a situation where we get intimidated by the atmosphere. We fall for all the dark arts that Sevilla will try. Um, we just need to go there and score first and silence the crowd and get the job done. I believe that we can as long as we play at our optimum. I think we can beat them because I mean they're 12th in La Liga, which is a poor La Liga now, and we're third in the Premier League. So I'm still relatively confident that we can go there and get the result.
Yeah, well, I would hope so. But as you've called it, we need to score first in that game, and secondly, the referee is crucial that he doesn't buy there. They'll try every means possible, as you say. I think they'll want a penalty earlier on. They'll be diving all over the place, and we need to be secure at the back, get started steadily, and get the first goal. But on the best team that we will have available, we should be good enough to win that game. I think. Yeah.
Yeah, especially if Rashford, Sabitzer, and Shaw all make it, or even if a couple of them make it, then yeah, I would expect us to win even more so. Um, but yeah, one thing we have to be wary of is Maguire. He cannot get booked after 2 minutes in this game because European referees do not mess around. And if he makes another tackle after that, he's gone, and then
Yeah.
we're probably out of the competition. Then, so it's crucial that we keep 11 men on the field.
Yeah, well, the one thing, if you remember when you were talking about the handball, possibly, which would have given him a second yellow or a penalty against us, was that Lindelof and Dallo went up with Maguire. That was amateur defending, Kyle. Do you remember that? There were three of them up for one ball, and of course, De Gea was nowhere near there with his hands, and it was dreadful, and we got away with it. But see if that happens on Thursday night, there'll be penalties given there. You need to be secure and good calling at the back, and if it's my ball, Maguire should say it's his ball and go and be forceful and head the ball out.
Well, there's no excuse for that because Maguire and Lindelof must have played together about 100 times,
Yeah,
maybe more.
maybe 150. Yeah, that's it. Yeah, all these friends.
And they become a necessity now with all these injuries. Martinez has had his surgery, and hopefully he'll be. I think their prognosis is 6 weeks, but that's basically the end of the season.
Oh, it
Even
is.
if
Yeah.
even if we get to the FA Cup final on the 3rd of June, I mean, and he makes it, he's not going to start, is he?
No, I
So
couldn't see it. He can be physically fit, but match fitness is another thing. And the manager, Ten Hag, is very, very good about that. I mean, he doesn't rush people back when he thinks they need time to get back into the team. He'll leave them on the bench or just keep them in the squad. So, yeah, you're right. I can't see him appearing until August.
So we could be in a situation where Maguire and Lindelof are playing in two cup finals, yet the one or both of them could be sold in the summer. But I suppose whether we make it to the cup finals is how good Maguire and Lindelof are going to be between now and the end of the season. I think a lot will depend on that. If they are not dependable, then we're not going to get to these finals and we're not going to win them. If they can play to the best of their ability, then we might have a chance. But if Maguire and Lindelof start making basic errors in these big games coming up, then we've no chance, do we?
No, no. And look at that. Would you put that combination in against Manchester City in a cup final with the quality that they have? It frightens me even thinking about it. I mean, they did score six against us this season, and if we have Maguire and Lindelof, then my goodness.
We probably will, unless
Yeah,
Varane comes back on time. There's a
yeah.
possibility of that. But first of all, we have to get past Brighton. Who's the centre back pairing going to be in that game? You know,
Oh, dear. Well, it'll be Shaw and somebody maybe. Maybe Shaw might be held back just for that game to come in there because Maguire's out. So it has to be some other change, or Casemiro comes in to the back four. But we can't really afford to let him not be in midfield. That's the thing. It's a very hard call.
Yeah, it'll be Lindelof with either Shaw or Casemiro, I think. But the problem I have with Shaw playing at left back or playing at centre back, sorry, it means Malacia plays at left. Malacia was a disaster in that Sevilla game in the first leg, so I wouldn't be playing him again anytime soon. And even he was apparently he was something wrong with him. He was ill or something. He couldn't make the Forest game. Whether that's true or not, who knows? But it just seemed convenient that he plays a 1 out of 10 performance and then he's ill for the next game.
Yeah, yeah,
Fergie
yeah,
tried that a few times, um, but yeah, if Shaw plays centre back, then again I would stick with Dallo at left back. I think Malassia's confidence is gone, and it's
yeah.
probably best not to start him between now and the end of the season.
Definitely not. But the other thing, Kyle, is when you were telling us about with 10 players out that weren't available for the last game. What about this business of United players? We're sitting there on the night of the game waiting for the hour before you get the team, and the manager tells us Wan-Bissaka is ill, Sancho is ill. We can't, with all everybody who's physically fit should be in the squad. We can't have our players getting ill before big gets. It happens too often for me. Like, are you not concerned about that? I certainly am.
Obviously, I don't follow other teams as closely as I do United. I would love to know if they have the same issues with illness. Um, do their play, like Manchester City, Liverpool, Arsenal, do they get regular illnesses within their squads? Do Because it seems to be every weekend now, one or two players are dropping out through illness. I'd love to know, is that the case at other clubs? But I'm not sure on that one,
Would
so
be
I'd have.
it. Well, Foden, for example, he's just had surgery, but it was genuine surgery, and they've brought him back slowly, and he's coming back into the squad. So that can happen for genuine reasons. But these mysterious illnesses and very late call-outs is not good for player morale. And you're trying to build up partnerships.
Yeah, we don't need any more nasty surprises on Thursday night because we're sweating on a few injuries already, and we don't want any more players dropping out. It's crucial that we have as many players available as possible. Obviously, we want to see Anthony continue his form. If he can replicate his performance at Forest in Seville, it'll give us a huge chance of going through, even if Rashford is not available. Um, Hopefully Sabitzer makes it as well because his performance at number 10 in the first leg was immense. And he'll be able to cover the loss of Bruno if he plays like that. Um, but I suppose the silver line is it finally gives Bruno a wee bit of a rest. It's the only time he gets rested is when he's suspended, because what I understand is statistically he's the busiest player in Europe. He plays the most minutes out of anyone in the top 5 leagues in Europe. Um, and he, he's like the total opposite to Martial in that sense that he's always available. He's never injured.
No,
But it's probably best for him that he does get a rest now and again, and this is a chance for that. But there's no point. We actually really need him though. To be honest, given how well he played it for us, to lose him for a game of this importance, and the reason why he's
yeah,
missing this game is ridiculous because it was a handball that was purely accidental, and he was given a yellow card for it.
yeah. It
And
was never a yellow card. Absolutely not. But you've made me think of another issue here, Kyle. Bruno's out automatically with suspension. If Rashford doesn't return and he's kept to the match on Sunday, who takes the penalties? Martial. This could be a tight game decided by a 1-0 result, penalty away from home. The manager needs to think very carefully about that, because you don't want half-hearted people. Just you need somebody who's strong enough to go up and bury it. I would say Eriksen's could take a good penalty. I've seen him take them before for Denmark.
Casemiro can as well, of
Right.
course. We've seen him score from the spot for Brazil in the World Cup.
Yeah.
Um, that's an interesting question. No Rashford, no Bruno. Who takes the penalty? It's up in the air. I would, My guess would be Martial. Um, I'm
Mm,
not entirely comfortable with that because I've
no,
seen
I
him miss
wouldn't be.
them.
Now that you mentioned it, I would go for Casemiro because he's done it at the biggest stage in the World Cup final. But Ericsson equally is good. But let's get it decided before the game started. Don't have people looking at each other. Could come to that, Kyle, a 1-0 win by penalty.
But Harry will be the captain on the night. He'll decide who takes it.
He'll ask Victor to take it.
Yeah. um, just as long as he doesn't take it himself, then I'm happy enough.
Yeah, he might slip like John Terry in 2008.
I think he definitely would. He definitely
Yeah,
would. Yeah, we definitely need a strong referee on Thursday night who doesn't fall for their nonsense. Um, yeah, that's absolutely vital. So Mark Giordano was on the bench on Sunday, as was Brandon Williams for the first time in a very long time. It just shows you, and two goalkeepers again. It just shows you how we're just up down to the bare bones now with all these injuries.
definitely are. Definitely are. It was good for Gerardo to be in the big time to see what it's like going with the first team and watching the build up to the games and hear the manager speak. That's all good. But as you say, we're really down to the bones now. There's nothing left really.
Yeah, and Phil Jones still didn't get on the bench.
No.
From what I understand, he's not been able to complete a training session this season. That's shocking, isn't it?
Yeah.
So I
Well,
think he'll.
has it been well enough to walk to his bank every day and when he gets his monthly wage? Can he do that all right?
Well, I think finally that monthly wage will be cancelled on the 30th of June. That'll be his last payment.
Mm,
And I think, unfortunately for the guy, he's going to have to retire because his body just isn't up to it anymore at this level.
mm.
But he's been there 4 years too long, in my view. He should never have
That's
got
it.
that contract in 2019 by Ed Woodward.
Yeah, yeah. And he'll always be remembered as being the player who signed on the same day as Aguero scored for Manchester City. That'll go down in history. It really is. When you talk about value for money signings.
Yeah, Aguero won them several league titles, and Phil Jones just spent about 10 years on the treatment table.
Yeah.
It's unfortunate for the guy, but he's just, his body just isn't up to it. And I wish him luck the rest of his career, but he's going to have to look for a career in punditry or something because his body just isn't up to it anymore.
He'd
Yeah,
be, he'd be, he'd be looking to join your podcast. That's what he'd be
yeah,
looking at. He's trying to get into the media.
yeah. Well, he's very welcome. I mean, I suppose anyone who's ever pulled on the red shirt is a worthwhile guest on this show.
Mhm.
Even if it's Kieran Richardson or even
Yeah.
or David Ballion, I'll happily have them on the show.
Oh God, you're naming them now. Yeah, yeah.
Odi and Gallo, yeah.
Martin Buchan's brother George, he was on the books.
uh, yeah, Phil Neville, yeah. Anyone wants to come on, I'll have them on. Juan Sebastian Veron, I'll happily
Oh
talk
yeah,
to him too.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Okay, we'll wrap it up there for today. If everyone could please like the channel on YouTube, so give us a subscription and comment your thoughts in down below. We will be back with another podcast after the FA Cup semi-final, and I will see you again, Nigel.
Yep. See you soon, Cal. Yep.
All right, see you later.